fashion. Hey everybody, we're back again. It's a holiday. It's after Thanksgiving. You wouldn't know it. We've all had food. We all had stuff. And there's been a wild week, this whole wild week. But the guy here for the off night, your host and your MC is Mr. Mark Sweetman. Big round of applause.
Hey!
Hey, what's going on, man? Quite a Thanksgiving.
Let my music play for a little bit. I figured out, I think, the one time that we got taken down because of our music for copyright infringement. I figure it was the time that I used the spinners and not this piece. So I'm going to keep using this piece until they figure out what copyright law I'm breaking. You know, and this is actually a piece of music Henry Mancini wrote for Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh, got it.
So it may be old enough they don't care, you know.
It may be in the domain. You never know, you know.
The public domain, exactly. So
yeah.
All right, we'll let it go out now. I'm trying to. You know, I had a great idea today. You remember Dave Coulier used to do the instrumentals with his mouth? All the
oh, yeah.
I see, because I do a little bit of that too, you know. Anyway, I was thinking maybe getting him and a couple of other guys that do a cappella voice instrumentation and doing that piece for the show. You know, Dave's back here now. I don't know if you knew that or not.
He's living in the area now.
Yeah, he's back in St. Clair Shores. Yeah, maybe a little bit north of there.
Hey,
I think he says St. Clair Shores, so when people go looking for him, that's where they look. But I think he might be a little.
he's doing the Hemingway.
Exactly.
Yeah, I fished. Oh, I caught all my fish in the big two-hearted, you know, and he actually fished the fox. So
exactly. All right, now you got to account for some time here, my friend, because you've missed 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
The first week was the audition, and the second week was a sleep study.
Yes. You saw that I was part of the Borg. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So how did the audition go? Now, and we had a question, because I was talking to Sam about it during the show, and I wasn't sure. Were you auditioning people, or were you auditioning for something?
Well, I'm directing the play, so I'm auditioning people.
So you were auditioning. All right.
Yeah.
You were the gatekeeper, basically.
I was the gatekeeper. Yes.
Yeah.
But it was quite a shock. The first night, only had 2 guys showed up. Ooh. And they wanted the same part, you know. Well, you know what that means? Indian arm wrestling. You know? Yes. Yes. That's about almost what it came to. But
yeah,
no, we kept the one guy. The next night, you know, it's community theater. You know, so you never know what's going to happen. So you know, but the next night, there's this crew of people out there who are just fanatics about Jeeves and Wooster plays. You remember back in the early 2000s, they had it on PBS.
Yeah,
with Fry and what's his name? I never remember his name. But Hugh Laurie and Fry. It was Fry and Laurie, and so they played the characters. And ever since these guys, they love these productions. So I put it out there, and they came like a group. It's sort of like they're fanatics about the stuff as I am. So, and they're good. I got a good cast this time. I had a good cast last time. These plays are kind of fun. They're very fast. They're all humorous, and it's all about British society. So,
okay,
yeah, good. I had a good turnout. Really good. Second day was a good turnout. It's just weird because now I had set it up so that I could get everything done ahead of time and be able to participate in the Santa Claus thing for a month, and then they would have the scripts, they would get them memorized, and then we start the rehearsal process in January. But I'm not doing Santa Claus.
Yeah, now we talked about that before we went live. Now that we're live, you want to get the details on that? Oh, wait a minute, hold on, because let's do these things in order. Then last week you weren't on because you did a sleep study. What's the details on that?
Well, I have an issue with the beating of my heart, and they think that it was because I was have sleep apnea, so they tested me for it. So basically, you go to St. Joe's at 8 o'clock. They put on all these electrodes on you,
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to sleep at night. And I thought I would not be able to sleep with all these electrodes. The guy was really nice. I mean, they taped everything. They taped places I don't want to mention at this point, but just for different rhythms.
Right.
And they were, they kind of felt that I wasn't a sleep apnea candidate, which is great. So I don't have to have the extra oxygen at night. So.
Excellent. My latest health news: I'm down under 205 now. So it looks like
man.
I might hit my 200 by the new year.
Wow.
So, and that was from a high of 263. I think it was 5 years ago. I'd gotten up to 263.
And you've been steadily going down ever since.
That's what the doctor says. When I lose a half a pound a month, he says. I go, well, I didn't gain. I didn't get 85 pounds overweight, in a minute. So it's better to lose it that way too. Now I can trim my beard because my face is thinning out. The beard was to hide the chunk, in my cheeks.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yes.
So now I can trim that down. Well, all right. And I got some other news. My wife put our personal news in the poem, so let's get our panel in here. And then we'll go over the poem and start our discussions.
Sure.
First and foremost, our favorite New Yorker, and I want to talk a lot about New York this week. So let's get him out here right away. He's a former comic. Well, nobody's a former comic. He's a comic. Former radio guy, bon vivant, man about town. Our New York correspondent. Here he is, Sam Greenfield, everybody. Hey, welcome, Sam.
Hi, everybody.
Good to see you.
Hi, Sam.
Good to see you.
So Mike Lindell had a big rally.
Okay.
And you know about this, Andy?
I knew he wasn't.
I read a little bit about it, but go ahead.
So he had a big rally.
A thankathon.
And a lot of people were supposed to show up.
And they didn't?
20.
Ah! I'm happy. I'm
trying to measure how happy that makes me. It makes me only as happy. It's a tie. It makes me only as happy as when Donald Trump Jr. had a rally in Kentucky with his paramour, and I think it was under 30.
Yeah, beautiful.
I think it was which ironically is her IQ. And I'm trying to think of what her worst moment was. I've met her.
Well, you work for Fox. I thought you would have met her.
Well, no, the reason I met her is technically this was a Fox thing. They had a thing where you showed up at a what do you call that when it's the hell do you call it? It's not on the TV. It's you're streaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A streamcast. That's what we're doing.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a streamcast. Exactly. It's a streamcast.
All right.
And Kimberly Guilfoyle was there.
Uh-huh.
And I came away with one impression. And I'm not saying this to be mean. It's just the impression I had. I could not fathom how thick her makeup was. It was literally, it was caked. It was caked. And the expression she used over and over and over was, well, you liberals.
Whatever.
And I said to her, because I thought to myself, there's nothing she can say to me that will upset me. So she said, the problem with you liberals? I said, we can read. And she said, that's not funny. I said, I wasn't trying to be funny. I said, I think that reading is your probably greatest obstacle. But no, what is our biggest problem? You think you're always right. I said, well, we are. I said, you know what a burden that is? Do you have any idea to be constantly right in the face of people who think that Donald Trump is in fact a stable genius? Do you have any idea how annoying that is? My God. I mean, I realize why you're doing it. It doesn't surprise me, and she goes, so during the break, there was literally a 30-second break. She goes, you have to stop what you're doing. I said, many women have said that to me. Usually, I said, usually the authorities are called immediately afterward. I said, I don't understand.
There's a difference between you having women say you have to stop what you're doing, and Governor Cuomo's women saying you have to stop what you're doing.
You know what floored me about that whole incidents with him?
Yeah, the 11.
Yes, this was his response in part. Hey, what can I do? I'm Italian.
Yeah. Well, I don't like that response because I'm half Italian, so I don't like that response.
No, but yeah, I wouldn't either. But it just amazes me that that's his response instead of just saying, "I really screwed up."
Yeah.
None of these guys ever say, "I really screwed up."
I don't know why they don't do that because we are so forgiving in this country.
Forgiving and yes, and in part with that, once said, it all goes away.
It all goes away. Yeah, you can't use it against them anymore.
No,
it's done. It's over with.
I feel really bad that I did this. I shouldn't have done this. I feel really badly about it, and it won't happen again. That's all.
All right.
That's all.
Well, Sammy, Andy, Sam, we got a couple more people to get on here, including a newbie.
Let's do it. Get them on.
Coming back for her second visit, a friend of mine, and please welcome back to the show, local comic here in Ann Arbor. Here she is, Brandy Alexander, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome,
Hello,
Brandy.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, because you don't come on screen, you're gonna have to pipe up a little bit more. So
okay.
Don't sound so excited about it.
Brandy, have you ever noticed this on? Hi, Brandy. It's Sam.
How you doing?
Have you ever noticed this on MSNBC more than other shows? When they'll say something like, "Please welcome Brandy Alexander," people inevitably say, "Thank you for having me on," and I'm wondering if that's something they are told to say.
Huh?
I don't think so. I think people appreciate being on.
But it's a constant.
Yes.
They always say that. Thank you for having me on. And what was I on where I had to say that? I can't remember. It was something on like Fox News. Oh no! Now I remember. It was Dr. Laura Schlesinger, and they said, be sure to tell her what a privilege it is to be on her show. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
Did they still let you on?
Oh, I couldn't have cared. Well, the answer to your question is yes, but I couldn't have metaphysically cared less. I just couldn't. And so she said to me, I had a choice between you and my son being on the show tonight. I said, and evidently your son won. And she said, what did that mean? I said, well, he's not on. He's probably off doing something he enjoys.
Oh.
And she said, well, what does that mean? I said, oh, come on. She said, let me tell you something. I said, I can't wait. I was so mean to her. She said, my son knows what his mother is. I said, everyone does. But what do you think? But what does that mean? She said, I'm a PhD and I'm just 9 hours short of a medical degree. And I said, well, why'd you quit? I didn't quit. I chose another path. I said, I see. What was your other path? She said, well, I'd rather not talk about it. I said, do you have any concept of what you sound like right now?
You know what a PhD on Fox News is, though, don't you?
Piled higher and deeper.
Piled higher and deeper, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
What is it? I didn't hear it. What is it?
Piled higher and deeper. PhD.
PhD.
Okay.
Well, she had a TV show, and the reason it didn't make it.
She had a radio show too.
Oh God, yes, and it was horrible. She was so mean to people. I'll never forget this. She had this young girl on, and the girl was crying on the air. And, obviously Sam, or otherwise I wouldn't know. And she said, my mother said, I spent too much money and I'm wasting their time. And I thought this is a perfect time for someone who's empathic or empathetic, I forget which, to reach out to this child and say something nice. And she said, well, maybe you are a bad kid. I said, My God, could you stop for a second? Jesus, what a my God. And so she wouldn't stop. And she said something to the effect of, I can't believe that you're this mean. I said, I can't believe you're this mean to this child. She's a child. She was 12.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I said, no, you don't. No, you don't. Because if you had a moment of thought, you wouldn't have said what you said to that little girl. And so she said, well, I'm a PhD. I said, listen, why don't we both just square with each other here? You're a PhD, right? Right. What are you a PhD in? Right. You're a PhD in something that involves like taking care of the body. And she said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, in other words, if you sprain your ankle, you're there. That's what you do. That's your skill set. That's your skill set. Is like if somebody twists an ankle, you call Laura Schlesinger. And I remember when she had her TV show, she would stand in front of the person who she was talking to with her back to the audience, with her back to the camera. And I said, what are you doing? And she said, well, this is the way I want to stand. I said, but that's ridiculous. The audience can't see you. You're blocking the camera. And she said, well, that's the way. I said, it's ridiculous. I said, you won't be on the air another 7 months, 6 months, gone. And then the one I'll never forget is she had this woman on who said, am I doing something terrible? And she said, well, what do you mean? And the woman said, well, I had an abortion. Am I breaking God's law? And Laura Schlesinger goes, absolutely. So I just stopped listening. I just couldn't take it. A horrible human being. And she's not, correct me if I'm wrong, she's not on the air anywhere now. Am I correct?
Laura Schlesinger?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Laura Ingram. Laura Schlesinger is not on the air anymore. No.
Yeah. She killed it.
We got a newbie tonight, so I want to get him out here before I
get him out there too. Yes.
I gotta get him out so we can explain the format here. Susan is not here, but her poem is. But this next gentleman is the founder of a local arts and theatrical community. I think he just changed his name. We'll talk to him about that once he gets out here. I started putting this show on the Unclub's Facebook page once the
Unclubs?
The Unclub. We had a room here, a show called the Unclub.
Oh, okay.
And this man was the host of that show, and the theater host. I was the stage host. He was the theater host.
I got you.
And he's got an announcement, a sad announcement about that, actually. But let's get him back from Emergence Arts, and I can't remember what he calls it now, but I know he's changed the name. Please welcome local impresario Tim Henning, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't have a great camera, so can you hear me?
Tim, you look great.
You look great. You sound great. Hey, Tim, what's the name of your company now?
The Theater Shop.
The Theater Shop. Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Formerly known as Emergent Arts Theater. So
it's simple. Emergent arts people are always like emerging.
Nothing's better than simple.
Theater Shop.
The Theater Shop is
no tricky TRE at the end of theater. Just like let's go
live
with the American.
from Holland, Michigan. I just like saying that.
So we started putting this show on the Unclub page as soon as we announced that we were going to have a reunion, and I think Tim has some sad news about our reunion.
Uh-oh.
Yes, there's no more comedy ever in Ypsilanti. They passed an ordinance. And I think they named you guys specifically. We especially
did they?
Don't want. We don't want those guys from the comedy off night.
Did they cite cite Mark specifically, or was it just any comic that happens to walk by?
They said any streamcaster that mentions Ipsy is included in this.
They showed me a picture of Andy, and I refused to identify him, but I think they're on the lookout.
I see.
The
man will do an impression at the drop of a hat. There we go.
Right. They said it's all right if you do it on the street corner. Just don't go inside anywhere.
But essentially, what you told me before you came on was that we're not going to have the reunion because you've lost.
Something is bad.
Oh, did something go wrong?
Yeah, it sounds like Grand Funk Railroad with a busted radio tube.
Oh, that was how they recorded. That was their sound. So
really bad.
No, does it? It's only. Does anybody else hear it?
Very staticky.
Does anybody else hear it, or just Sam?
Am I the only one who's getting that?
Yeah, I think so.
Sound.
I think you're going out and back in again, Sam. I think it's just you, Sam, because everybody else sounds great.
I blame Andy.
Okay.
Again.
Well,
I've only been gone for 2 weeks, guys.
Let's focus on Andy.
I had electrodes attached to me, for crying out loud. I can't be blamed for everything.
Everything can be traced back to Andy eventually. It's just,
well,
he's
if
the
you
origin
go
point.
around the world, see, we lost Sam.
Oh, lost Sam.
I think he went out to reboot. He about once not once a week, but I'd say at least once a month he has to reboot and come back in. Here he is.
That's fine.
All right, I think we got him in here now. Let's see how he sounds. How does that
he's
sound?
down with me now.
There we go.
How does that sound, Sam?
Perfect.
Okay.
All right.
So the reunion is not going to happen?
Yeah, well, I had the theater rented for 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of December for a play or for a variety show I was doing. And then with the surge of COVID and everything, we just decided to cancel that. So that means I don't have the theater. I was going to have it already that we could do the show on the night we weren't doing the play or the variety show. But now since we don't have the theater, I can't do it. I tried to get a spot down in Saline, but the venue there, they're going to live. They've canceled live events also. So
Sam, excuse me. I'm from New York. Where is Saline?
Saline is about 7 miles southwest of Ypsilanti. If you got a triangle and you start in Ann Arbor and go straight east to Ypsilanti, and then another side of the triangle is going southwest to Saline, and then north to Ann Arbor. So it's
okay.
Kind of like, yeah.
Is everybody there happy about the Michigan-Ohio State game?
I'm very happy.
Yeah, obnoxiously so.
Yeah.
It's just
I think being obnoxiously happy about that game is perfect.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I am not such a huge fan of. I am about Michigan the way I am about Biden. I'm for him, but I'm happy that the opponent lost more than I.
Well, in years past, I've always sort of rode the fence since I'm from Ohio.
Because you're from Ohio, yeah.
So if Ohio was ahead, I'd call my friends in Michigan and gloat, and if Michigan was ahead, vice versa. But I've sort of started rooting more for Ohio. Just I guess I'm getting old, and so I'm reverting to my origin.
When they play a game in Columbus, do they still march out that OHIO?
They sure do.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
and dot the I. You bet.
They sure do.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do.
My brother actually once lived in the stadium at Ohio State when he went there.
He lived in the stadium?
Yeah, they had a dorm there, and he actually had a.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He actually had a little window that looked out on the field, so that was kind of.
Is that where they get the Baker Mayfield at home in Cleveland Stadium?
Yeah. Well, you can't live there anymore, but you
could try. A real man would try.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite lines in any movie ever. When Arthur, in the movie Arthur, when he's with his fiancée Susan, who he can't stand, and he's forced to marry her because she's so rich. Or no, that's not it. If he doesn't marry her, he loses all his money.
His money, right? And
she says, Arthur, a real woman could stop you from drinking. He goes, yeah, but she better be a real big one. That's hysterical.
There's one I got. We just watched John Gielgud was in. We just watched Lost. We watched. He wasn't Arthur, but we just watched Lost Horizon. And Gielgud's in that one too, and it made me want to see Arthur again. So.
Well, it's interesting. Go ahead, please.
That was a remake, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Remake of a Capra film.
Yes. There is a wonderful moment in two different movies where two actors who were known for playing serious roles,
right,
both won Oscars. One was Gielgud for Arthur,
yep.
And the other was Jack Palance for City Slickers.
City Slickers, yeah.
And in both cases, the actors died, and they in real life, and they came back in a sequel where they had like a cousin, a brother, a dog, something.
Yeah.
With the character, and in both cases, the movie sucked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is terrible. Terrible.
There's a great story about. Oh, you still talking? Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a bit of a delay. Just butt in.
There's a great story about Gielgud back in the early days of I guess the Mercury Theater or whatever. They were going to some restaurant in Washington. They walked in. There's about 10, 15 tables around, and there's couples and whatnot, and men and women, and et cetera. And Gielgud stops at the door and he says, "We can't go in." And they say, "Well, why?" He says, "I think I've slept with every woman in here." So Gielgud was a bit of a scoundrel. Apparently.
It's back when he was straight.
Well, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe he was just indiscriminate.
Well, what's wrong with that? I ask you, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being a whore? There was a moment when Gielgud did. I think it was some play he did. I don't remember, but he was on stage and he was playing a role, and Maurice Evans, who was, I don't know, 9 or 10 light years away from being straight, was watching him perform. Let's say it was Hamlet, just because I can't remember. Right. And Gielgud is doing his part, and out of nowhere he says to Maurice Evans, "And that, Miss Evans, is how you play that part." Mm-hmm. And I was there for that.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, I was there. I saw it, and the woman who I took to see it said, I said to her, "What did you think of that?" And she said, "It's the first time I've ever been on a date where a man said, 'Holy shit, he's gay.'" I said, "Well, I didn't know he was gay." She said, "Well, he's a theater actor from England. It's not exactly a stunner." I said, I didn't know. I was surprised.
All right, now that we got everyone here.
Yeah.
Every week, Tim and Brandy, my beloved Susan writes a poem based on the news headlines, and we kind of use that as our checklist or our agenda for the topics that we'll talk about in the news. So
go to the springboard to keep it going.
Okay. All right. So here's this, and she always titles it Poem 11/29 or whatever the date is. So this is Poem by Susan Salisbury Sweetman, 11/29/2021. Here we go. And she normally she's reading it, but she's a little under the weather. And we went to a funeral today, and I'll talk about that. I think she mentions it in the poem. I'll mention that after we get done here. Cyber Monday here at last. I'd rather take a shopping fast. Anyone care which way Twitter will go? Jack Dorsey stepped down as CEO. Barbados cut off their queen. Elizabeth II removed from the scene. Biden urging booster shots for elderly and also tots. New variant called Omicron. We pray it all will soon be gone. May God take COVID all away. We wish to have a better day. We're very sad today. Our precious Tia passed away. She was sweet and she did shine. She was only 29. That's from my wife.
Who died at 29?
My kid's sister, not my kid's sister, my children's sister.
Oh yes, I saw that.
Passed away.
Yes.
She was almost our foster child. It was it was 21 years ago now that we took the youngest, and she wasn't getting along with any of her foster parents, so we were going to take her. But then my son, my second oldest, broke his leg on the last day of school, and we said we can't, we apologize, but we have to renege on the offer to take her. But we always kept in touch with him, and she was sort of like, as they grew into adulthood, she became the sort of the conduit to our relationship with the birth family.
Uh-huh.
And so it was very sad. I don't care who it is. You don't die at 29
That's true.
of a heart. She was passed of a heart attack. So, but we were at the funeral today, and it's bittersweet because sadly, the only time we get to see that side of the family, it happens to be when somebody dies. But now that I think about it, on my side of the family, that's the only time we see a lot of the relatives. So, at least people honor. We're really honoring the living. We're there for the living. The dead, we can't help the dead anymore. So we're there to help the living mourn. So, but she was a sweetheart. She left a 6-year-old daughter.
Oh,
I know.
how's the kid taking it?
The kid's 6. I mean, she's old enough to know, but
What happened?
to know what happened, but not old enough to really understand why. And is there really a why? I don't know. She was
There's never a why for that.
Well, yeah, she was never completely healthy.
The mother.
The mother, yeah, and I mean, she even had a hard time having this baby, which she loved dearly. So, but oh my gosh, the aunts and uncles, hopefully
I had an uncle who made Archie Bunker look empathic. And he used to come in. Did I tell you this story? He would come into my father's grocery store and just take food. Just take it.
This is your uncle?
Yeah, just a pig.
Because it was your dad's store?
Yeah, just a total pig. And was a racist. If racism could be defined as say magnifique, it was this guy. And so I was like 9, I think 10, and I said, I wish you wouldn't use the word nigger. And he smacked me.
He smacked you?
He smacked me in the mouth. And my father, who was 5 feet tall and weighed 110 pounds, he was like a jockey, but was very strong, physically very strong, and never, ever challenged this man physically because he was such a big lout. And he smacked me, and I let out a scream. It really hurt. It hurt like shit. And my father hauled off and decked him.
All right.
I mean, knocked him down. And he said to my uncle, if you get up, what I just did will feel like I hugged you.
Wow.
And he didn't get that. He didn't. And so I'll never forget this as long as I live. My father looked at me. My father adored me. My father looked at me and said, do you know why he's not getting up? I said, because he's a pussy. And my father had never heard me use any kind of word like that in his life. And he went, yeah, okay, I'll go with that. That's good. And so he was my father's in-law. He was my mother's brother.
Oh, okay.
And so my mother said to him, did you knock Louis down? And my father said, yes. And she said, you should have done it 10 years ago.
Yeah, there you go.
And by the way, when he gets up, knock him down again. And so when Louis died, what an idiot. When Louis died, he decided to have the funeral. Well, he didn't. Someone decided to have the funeral outdoors. It was February. It was so cold. I was shaking so hard from the cold that my sister-in-law had to wrap her arms around me to stop me from shaking, or I would have separated a shoulder. It was that cold. I was freezing, and I was wearing a very heavy coat. I was freezing my ass off. And my sister-in-law, Dorothy, said to me, do you know the most amazing thing about this funeral service? I said that it's this cold. She said, no, that he's so not worth it. He's so not worth being this cold and suffering. So I said, well, I guess you're right. She said, do you know what I'm going to do now? I was like 20. I said, no. She said, I'm taking you by the hand and we're going into the car and we're leaving. And I said, but other people, I don't give a shit. We're leaving. It's enough. It's enough. We're freezing our asses off. It's enough. And I said, well, won't other people be upset? She said, are you upset? I said, no. She said, we're leaving. And we left. God, he was a bad guy. Jeez. When my grandmother died, he came into the house. We had to physically restrain him from taking furniture.
Wow.
Oh no, he was horrible. He was horrible. You know the old saying, don't ever say anything. What is it? You should always say something good about the dead. He's dead. Yeah. Good.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if we had any relatives that were
that horrible.
That horrible. My Uncle Phil. Well, we called him Phil. Uncle Laverne. I know. I think.
Let me put on my thinking cap.
I think that's why we called him Uncle Phil. I'm not sure. Uncle Laverne would have done so well on the floor.
Lavinia's nice. At
the Pontiac Motors plant where he worked, but
he worked at a motors plant, and he was gay.
No. Laverne was his name.
Oh, okay.
But he went by Phil in the plant because Laverne sounded too feminine.
Gay.
Yeah.
Gay. I'm not trying to reach out here, but
he
gay.
Was the first. I mean, he was just one of the old guys that would every one of my uncles had great baseball advice if they were good for nothing else, and for Uncle Laverne, that's all he was good for. So he was good for his theory was, look, don't try to pull everything. If they want to throw it outside to get you to go after outside, but just hit it to right field. Just don't.
So it was good advice.
It was good advice.
My roommate
he also had George Wallace bumper stickers all over his car. So.
Okay.
So, So I would say, how's that going, Uncle Laverne? How's that going at Pontiac Motors? How do your Union brothers feel about your George Wallace bumper stickers? He goes, oh, they're for me. And of course, everybody on that side thinks that everyone else thinks the way they do. So. But anyway,
it's funny when you say that. I had uncles like that who would go to games, and things like that, and they couldn't care less that people were shocked by their behavior regarding that kind of attitude. Couldn't give a shit if it bothered people. It just amazed me. And of course, I think you know this already, Mark, and Andy, but I don't know if Tim knows. But George Wallace's attitude about African Americans changed drastically.
It did.
For the better.
He became governor again with their support.
Yes, he appointed more African Americans to statewide positions than any governor since or before in the history of that state. And he said his biggest regret was that he was that way for so many years.
Yeah, well, today he'd be a rhino.
Today he'd be a Democrat.
Yeah. True. Well, he wasn't. He always was a Democrat.
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah. He was
a Democrat.
He never switched parties. He was always a Democrat.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The only difference was he got the support of the black voters in Alabama his second run.
What's amazing to me is I was watching. Well, this original part I'm about to say is really amazing. But I was watching Fox News Channel, and what is that idiot's name? He has really greasy hair, and he's on Fox and Friends occasionally. I can't remember. But
all of them?
You know who I mean.
Hey, Curum's here.
It's going bad again. I'm going to get off and come back on.
All right.
So we have Quorum?
Yeah, Curum's here. As soon as Sam's off, I'm going to bring Quorum on. Here we go.
Wow.
I'm trying to get
there
this.
There's Quorum right there. Hey, how's it going, Quorum?
Good. I have to go to 3 different apps to get this on here, but I'm on here now.
Well, it's not really. All you needed was a browser for this. There's no.
You look like a sea captain there.
Yeah, he does. He looks like the
You see
more.
He's
the Gorton's. He's the Gorton's fisherman.
It looks like the guys fishing for crab up in Alaska there.
Hey, Sam Coram showed up while you were gone.
Hey, Coram, how are you?
Deadliest cat.
Very good.
Coram's another
I
one.
like
of
About
our-
it.
George Wallace, huh?
Well, we try to stick with the current stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a good,
Yeah.
he's a good comedian. I actually saw
Exactly.
him in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a different George Wallace. That's a different.
George
George
Wallace, the George Wallace you're speaking of, Karam, has a ring the size of your body. He has a ring on his finger so big. I was staring at it like some men stare at breasts.
Yeah, I've got one of those too in my bathtub. But,
What, a breast?
No, it's around the tub. Come on, someone stick with him for Christ's sake. I'm with you, Tim. Jesus, the man's telling jokes. Let's stay at home.
it takes a lot of bravery to tell a bad joke like that. I think So.
I'm with you, brother.
All right, now that we got six of you here, and Coram, I guess Coram, I'm appointing you the centrist because the rest of us, I think, are maybe Andy too. I don't know about Tim, but
Me?
no, you're not a centrist. You're
No,
on
I'm
my-
not. No, I'm not. What did my mother call me? Damn near a commie.
When I get people, this is locally now. I haven't done this to people that don't know me, but people that know me that call me a communist, I call them cocksuckers. And I said, you can find just as much proof that I'm a communist that I can find that you're a cocksucker. So I think it's fair.
And you know what's interesting?
So far as you know.
Why is it a cocksucker is a bad thing?
I've never understood that either.
I think we could argue that that's a good thing.
Well, why is that indeed? Why is that bad?
I don't know. But the people,
how do words evolve?
If you call people that call me communist don't want to be called cocksucker. I don't.
Do you know the joke about the prostitute that dies? They're at the funeral, and all the girls in her whorehouse are standing around crying. And one of them says, "You're burying the greatest cocksucker that ever lived." And the madam goes, "See that? They don't say a damn good thing about you till you're gone."
Well, that was my point.
Exactly.
Remember the Actors
I
Studio
love that joke.
show? Remember the Actors Studio show where he'd asked all the questions and at the
Sure.
end they asked your favorite swear word? That
Right.
was Sally Field's favorite swear word was cocksucker.
Was it really? You know what's funny about that? I'm trying to remember what was Samantha Bee called Ivanka Cunt a feckless cunt.
Oh yeah, I remember
Do
that.
you remember that?
Yeah.
And Sally Field, and she caught hell for it, to the point that Samantha Bee doesn't apologize for anything. She apologized for that, which I thought was ridiculous because she was right. Because she was right.
But you know what? Does anybody
never
remember
know.
that she apologized? So.
And
You
so
never know what's going on there when they apologize like that.
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
like if the non-apology apology, if I offended anybody,
I hate that. Oh, I hate that.
don't apologize. Just don't. No, I meant what I said, and I'm done. You don't like it? You don't like it? Blow me. So anyway,
Lauren Boebert called Ilhan. Ilhan Omar called her a bomber, a suicide bomber, and said, "If I offended anybody, well, blah."
You offend me every time you breathe.
Exactly.
You're an idiot. You think an AR-15 is your grade point. Jesus, I can't stand that idiot.
I got some good news.
They're a communist.
hey, Sam, I got some good news about Boebert, though. She
is dead.
No.
Come on.
She was in an unopposed Republican primary in a district that had been Republican and is leaning blue, in going more and more blue in the last few elections.
Oh God, hear my prayer.
So,
please.
Unlike Marjorie Taylor Greene, who she needs to be beaten by another Republican because Republican.
No. She needs to be beaten. I saw an interview with somebody from her district, and he goes, "I like her. I think she's cute." And I went, "You're the reason people refuse to learn how to read." Oh, I think she's
Did
cute.
we,
I
do
kind of
a,
like
did we
her.
do a thing before this started that opinions expressed here may not be shared by the overall whatever?
No, it's okay not to share them, but
Yeah,
with
no,
Bobert,
I know.
but Bobert, I mean, it's
Sure,
not
if
to
you're
see.
if
It's
you're a
not to see.
cocksucker, I mean.
Well, exactly. If you're gonna mount my assets, so
Sorry, Cora, I'm just teasing.
I got it.
I heard that.
I already said you're the centrist, Corum. So
Yeah, no, I see that. Yeah, no, beating woman. I thought, well, 5 guys talking about that. We might put on the record that not all are shared by everyone.
well, fortunately, Sam's not a member of Congress, so he can put out any anime he wants. So
Oh, okay.
I've never
Yeah,
put
there
out
you
an
go.
anime.
yeah, I haven't either.
Not sure what it is.
Most people don't, I'm
They're
surprised
too hard
that
to
he
put.
actually
They're
did
too hard
that.
to put out.
Yeah.
Yeah, my son-
They're very difficult to put out. And when I put them out, the 2 times I have, someone says, "What is that?" I go, "I don't know. I just don't know. I'd like to share it with you, but I think it looks bad."
my son creates animation for his YouTube page. His best one was when he took the trailer to the movie Fargo and replaced all the characters with Faygo cans. Faygo is a local
Oh
soda.
God, I love that. That's
He called
brilliant.
it
That is
Faygo.
brilliant. That is brilliant. Oh God.
No,
Oh, very nice.
You know my
if
favorite
you're
line.
Marv,
Fago.
You know my favorite line in Fargo, and every time I hear it, I laugh out loud. But it has to come from that actor, Steve Buscemi,
Uh-huh.
when the Native American beats the shit out of him because what's her name? Frances McDormand threatens the guy, and she says, "Look, I know you know about these killings, and I don't want to get you into trouble, but you better come." Blah 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 blah. And he knows who told. He knows it was Buscemi, and Buscemi takes a belt and beats the living shit out of the Native American takes a belt and beats the living shit out of Buscemi. And Buscemi says, hey, calm down, man. Smoke a peace pipe or something. That just kills me. That just kills me. Smoke a peace pipe. And when he's having sex with this hooker, Buscemi, the Native American grabs the hooker and just flings her across the room. Oh God! Hey, brother, smoke a peace pipe. That kills me. Oh God! Oh man, that movie was great.
Yeah, I can't get my wife to watch that. So.
Why? Too brutal?
Yeah, she'll start some films, and I've tried to get her to watch The Sopranos, and she won't watch The Godfather, and it gets
on Showtime.
You know what she did watch?
Godfather is shown now every day, and Godfather Part 2, which I think is the closest we have to a film that's opera.
Oh yeah,
is shown every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
We got Paramount
one after
Plus,
the
so
other, after the other, after the other, and
we've got Paramount Plus, so we can watch The Godfather anytime.
I can't get over how great John Cazale is in Godfather 2.
Yeah.
When he says, "I'm smart, not like everybody says." All right, I'm going away again because I have the static again. I can't explain it. I refuse to. Hang on.
Something you ate for dinner, I think.
So what were you going to say, Mark, about what movie did she see?
Oh, she watched the Squid Game, which that she can't watch. She can't watch Sopranos, and she can't watch Fargo, and but she'll watch the Squid Game. And I'm into episode. I'm halfway through episode 2. I'm going. They've had more violence in this than all 3 of those movies that you won't watch combined. So.
Yeah.
Did you see they arrested somebody in North Korea for smuggling that in? They smuggled in the Squid Game. I think they were actually planning to execute him, aren't they?
Yeah. That's the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, they hate people thinking something that they don't want them to think over there.
Oh, and did you see where I was not to like go down a shaggy dog trail here, but did you see where what's his name? The Sung Myun, whatever the heck his name is. Yeah. He made it illegal for people in the country to wear a fake leather jacket that looks like his real one. You can't wear. He has a leather jacket that he thinks he looks cool in, and everybody started copying it. And
what
so
a noxious turd!
It's like you
God
can't wear this
almighty.
anymore.
That's Trump's buddy.
The haircut's bad enough. The haircut is bad enough. Jesus.
Yeah, he did lose some weight though, so.
Yeah,
oh, that's great. Now he's a thinner turd. Jesus. You know, you see these guys at these huge rallies he has, and they're applauding, and they're literally applauding in rhythm.
They're supposed to. Aren't they supposed to? Don't they have?
I'm sure they are.
They've been trained since they were like 5 years old, so you know.
We have what amounts to a warm-up comic for every event over there that warms up the crowd.
Hey, there's a
wow. The scary thing I think that we as a world have not addressed is facial recognition, artificial intelligence in terms of monitoring your whole population. China's doing that. Now North Korea is. They actually can see everybody, and they have, I think in China, they give you like merit credit if you do certain things and penalties.
Yes, you get
just the idea that facial recognition, how it can control people. We haven't addressed, like, should we even have this? How should we control this? And like in Hong Kong, they learn certain ways to bypass it, like with umbrellas and stuff. But I'm just saying, pretty soon it could be where the government truly can follow your every move and monitor everything you say and do, and have penalties if you say anything against the government.
Wow. That's kind of amazing if you think about it. That really is kind of amazing.
As long as people are in the government, I guess we got a shot. But as soon as the machine intelligence controls everything, that's when we got to worry about that.
Oh, or the people such as the leader of North Korea or Trump or certain people, and we're in trouble. And so I'm just saying certain countries already have it, and we haven't really discussed the use of the technology and how much do we really want to use it. And it's happening already. So just scary thing, not funny.
Yeah, we have the same thing here. We call it Ring doorbells.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look at how many people have been caught because somebody's not even the Ring doorbell that was where the activity took place. It could be something that happened across the street, but the police have access to all these Ring doorbells where they can pretty much follow everybody as they're going down the street.
Well, there was a guy. There's a guy who was on Shark Tank, who put out a doorbell where you could see the person before you got hold of them, and he didn't get any money, but he got so much recognition that he made $1 billion.
Wow.
But they didn't. No one bought into him. None of the people bought into him. None of the sharks bought into him. $1 billion.
Wow.
So it's one of the. There are people who go on that show and the sharks know this. They're aware of this because they're pretty smart people, and they will tell him, "You didn't really come on this show to get a bid from one of us. You came on this show because you knew someone would finance you."
Yep.
Right.
And someone did.
I've seen that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's happening more and more as that show goes on because people are getting pretty sophisticated.
Yeah, there are other rich people who don't need the sharks' money, and also some of the sharks. The offer they give is it's not bogus, but like what's his name, Kevin O'Leary. He says to them, I want this little amount, but I want, the, what does he call it? It's not a bid, a royalty.
Oh yeah.
And he wants $1.50 for every time. And they go, no, I'm not giving you $1.50 of my $9. No. Right. But they get a bid. And there was one guy who was on that show, and I forget what the product was, but he got, after 4 years, he had made After 4 years, he had made $71 million.
Well, all the sharks have done well on that show because they get to pick and choose. I mean, they don't have to make a bid for any of these, and you'll see
Go ahead.
Some of them are completely different. You'll see Lori and I can't remember the other woman's name, the real estate woman from New
Barbara
York. Barbara Corcoran. They'll both say, the money is nothing. I just want to be associated with this.
I want to be in on this.
And so I'll give you that. And a lot of times they're building up their own portfolio by saying, I was involved with the Squatty Potty or whatever the hell it is.
Right. My favorite, by the way.
So that,
the one I love is some guy went on the show, and Kevin O'Leary gave him what I thought was a very fair offer. And he said to Kevin O'Leary, I will be with anybody on this show but you.
Wow.
I have no desire to work with you. Wow. I don't like you. I don't like anything about you. And man, you talk about someone, they bounced off that show in 2 seconds. Because the other people were pissed about it.
Yeah.
Because they know O'Leary. He's a decent guy.
Yeah.
He drives a hard bargain, But man, they just hammered him. But the best thing I ever saw in any genre like that, I don't know if that's the right word, but was on the TV show The Match Game. And this woman went on the show, and she said, you know who I saw the other day? And she was talking to Brett Summers, who used to be married to Jack Klugman. Mm-hmm. And she said, I saw your ex-husband, Jack Klugman. And Brett Summers said, where'd you see him? Well, I saw him at the racetrack somewhere in Florida, in Hollywood. Hollywood Park, in fact. And she said, he was with this really cute girl, really, really pretty, really pretty. I mean, really pretty, like over and over again.
Yeah.
I've talked longer than it took them to get her off that show. Okay. They said something to her like, all right, complete this phrase and they would complete it with dog, fart, anything to get her off that show. Because she was hurt.
Yeah.
She was hurt by that. And they just bounced her ass right off that show. Up in the
I know a lot of times the sharks get upset when the I want to call them contestants or not contestants, but the bidders or whatever.
The bidders.
The presenters, when they want to keep going back with the counters, and one time the basketball owner guy, the Dallas Mavericks guy,
Mark Cuban.
He says, look, he made an offer, you made a counter offer, he countered that. He goes, you can't just keep going back and forth,
Well, the one that bothers them the most, from what I've seen, I watch the show every week. But the one that bothers them the most is, let's say you offer 15%.
Okay.
And they say, and the contestant says, how about 12.5? And they go, for Christ's sake, really?
Yeah.
2.5%, really? No. No. And the other thing that bothers them is when they know that they really don't give a shit whether you go in with them or not. They don't care. They are there to get an offer from any human being with skin. They don't care. They just want to get on the show because they think that people will buy into their product.
Well, they had a couple of girls that had this exercise equipment they're looking to sell to gyms or something like that.
Right.
It was a nice product, and they'd already had $120 million a year in sales.
Jesus, really?
Yeah, and they're saying, well, why are you here? And you know what it was? They didn't say it out loud, but it was, if we're on this show, all the people that said no to us are going to come back and say, all right, we'll take your product now.
But that's fine. You see, that's fine with me. That's okay. I have no problem with that. I don't.
Yeah,
in other words, if
marketing.
you made $100 million and now people watch the show and now it's $120 million, good for you.
Yeah.
That's fine. Nope, I have no problem with that. That's okay. But the funniest one I ever saw was these two guys came on the show, and they were making a movie, and
they wanted money for a film from the Sharks.
$2 million. and Mark Cuban said, "You're making a movie, am I correct?" Yeah. He goes, "I'm out."
Wow.
Well, pipe in here, Andy. Have you ever watched anything on TV? Give us your 2 cents.
Me? TV?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing that amazed me about the movie part was, and Mark Cuban said this. He's a very smart guy. He's obviously a very smart guy. He said, if you have a movie, and that movie is in the process of being made, and you don't have the wherewithal to finance that movie, you will never have the financing to make that movie, ever. So I'm not giving you more money to throw down the drain. Or otherwise you'd have a movie by now. You don't, you can make a movie, a successful movie, for $500,000. You don't need us there to finance your movie.
I had dinner with Gary Hardwick when I was. You guys know Gary? Who knows Gary?
Yeah.
I had dinner with Gary Hardwick when we were out when my wife and I were out in Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about some of the financing he gets for his projects, and where things fall apart. And he had all the backing he needed to do a sequel to. I can't think of the film now. It's with Gabrielle Union. Deliver Us from Eva. He did well. He did well with that one, and he only made $15 million in box office, but he made like $130 million after it did worldwide and cable and all that. He says all you have to do is get it in the theater. He made $50 million is all it cost him to make. It only cost him $10 million to make it, but all these people that he had in the movie had become stars, and so he was working on. He had a studio that says, we'll back you up to 100 million because they thought they could at least at a minimum would make 130. So it was at least worth getting their money back. But you had to get you had to get these principles. He couldn't get LL Cool J, and they knew that because he says he's just too big now. We can't get LL Cool J, but I can get Gabrielle Union. Well, Gabrielle Union, I guess, bowed out just at the last minute. She had that lawsuit against NBC when she got canned from what was it, The Voice, or what's that show they do, the talent show on NBC? She was one of the judges one year.
America's Got Talent.
America's Got Talent, yeah. And so she had sued NBC and settled out of court or something like that. So, and then she married Dwayne Wade from the NBA, and he was talking about all these things that just can go wrong, and you really have to before everything. In other words, they got to line everyone up. So he's got to get all these people, but he can't sign anybody because he doesn't have this money yet. He doesn't have the backers. And so everything sort of has to come together. And now they can't do meetings because of COVID. So everything has to be over Zoom and everything just fell apart for him. And I would feel bad for him, but he sells 2 scripts a year to make
Dwayne Wade?
What's that?
Dwayne Wade, you mean?
No, I'm talking about Gary Hardwick, my friend who's
good for him.
He's my writing partner out in LA. He's the guy that we pitch my stories with.
Oh, no, good. I'm happy for him.
He got us to the head of NBC comedy programming and ABC and Disney comedy programming. He gets us into meetings that I could never get into myself. So that's why
there's a comedian.
I'm pretty true to him.
There's a name I cannot remember. I will eventually. And he was head of comedy writing. That's not the right phrase. For
comedy development is what you're thinking.
Thank you. That's it. Yes. For ABC. And the guy who took over for him because he wanted to write rather than do development. He'd rather do his own work rather than scout other people. And the guy who took over for him said, do you have any scripts that I could look over? And he said to the guy, please don't be, this is one of the greatest lines I've ever heard. He said, please don't be offended by this. Please promise me you won't be offended. And the guy said, okay, I won't be. He said, I'd rather die than work with you. and I said to the guy who was head of comedy development, I said, what part of that wouldn't offend him? What part of that would? I'd rather die. I'd rather stop breathing. I'd rather have someone take my pulse and say it's over.
Gary and I, about 3 years ago, made a development script, and it was based on a comic who leaves L.A. and goes home because he's got such a large family. He's not getting the gigs, but he's still making a career doing comedy. Basically, it's based on me, but we've got the adopted kids. That was going to be
Basically, it's you.
Yeah, let's agree that it was me. So he kind of makes the core. I made it funny. We bat the thing back and forth, and then we got a set script. He goes, "All right, don't write anything else." I said, "What? You don't want me to develop an arc for the show?" He goes, "No." He goes, "We're not doing anything else." He goes, "One, I'm in the Writers Guild. You're not. We're gonna do this right, and we're gonna get you into the Writers Guild. Then we can start, submitting things." He says, "What you don't want to do is not be in the Writers Guild and have everything rejected or stolen because you're not in the guild." He says, "I'm in the guild. Let me get you in the guild, and then we can start writing again." This was just to get us in the door for these meetings. So, and the script's done pretty well for getting us in. So, and we've had it. And this is the weird thing about Hollywood. I'm glad I did it. I mean, I may never sell anything, but I'm glad I did it just to see how much of it is a relational business more than it is a talent business. Because they don't want to read anything, when you're first pitching an idea. They want to hear the 5 to 10 minute pitch, and then if they like it, they want 5 more minutes out of you, and then they go,
"Yeah, that's really all they want."
That's all they want, and that's all they want. And they'll make notes, or they'll have their young assistants. We had every meeting. There's like 3 college interns, if that. Somebody less than 24 years of age making copious notes. And then after they've heard enough that they think they would like to put something, they want to get money. They go, "All right, bring us 3 scripts and outline the arc for a 10 episode season, and deliver that. You got $30,000." So then you go out and you do that, and so it's a very interesting about how you don't even have to be a writer until you get to
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
not.
You go in, and if you're good on your feet, and that's why I think comics do so well getting shows on, is because they're good on their feet. They're good at just pitching things by the seat of their pants.
What was the name of that movie with Tim Robbins where he played the head of a studio?
The Player?
Yes, thank you.
Player.
My favorite line in that movie is when there's a guy, I can't remember the actor's name, but he shows up late and he says, "I'm sorry, I was at an AA meeting." And Tim Robbins says, "Oh, gee, I didn't know you had a problem." He goes, "Oh, I don't, but that's where all the deals are made."
Yeah.
I love that. No, that's where all the deals are made. Oh, God, that's so great. That is so great. There's also a great line in that movie. Whoopi Goldberg plays a detective, a chief of detectives. And so what happens is Tim Robbins kills somebody. And the woman says, "I tell you, he's the guy who killed him. I swear on my mother's grave." And it turns out it's not him. So Whoopi Goldberg says, "Can I ask you a question?" He says, "Yeah, where the fuck is your mother buried? Because that ain't him."
Is that the Robert Altman film?
It sure is.
Yeah.
I remember
Sure
that.
is.
With the 17
That's like about 30 years
shot.
old now, wasn't it? Something like that?
Easily.
Like the 17-minute opening shot that's continuous.
Yes. You know who else did that? Orson Welles
Yeah.
in Touch of
Yeah.
Evil.
That's the view.
Well, the famous one is The Rope, right?
Oh, well, that was all continuous. No, that was all continuous.
Yeah.
And when you had a scene where they wouldn't show anything else, they would put the camera on the actor's back.
Yeah, that's when they had to change. That's because you didn't have continuous rolls of film.
That's correct.
You had to change the canister in the camera.
That's right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
That all had to be storyboarded out to the minute, so that because you knew what you were putting out a film.
I saw that movie with a friend of mine, and he said, "I came away with 2 things from that movie." I said, "What?" He said, "Number one, it was really well written." I said, "And what was the other thing you came away with?" He said, "It was really gay." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, that movie could not have been gayer unless they danced. And I said, what do you mean? He said, he said, everybody in that movie was like, oh, Todd, you're such a tyrant.
Now you got to go back. Now you got to go back and watch it with a queer eye.
Well, not that hard. Which
No pun
sadly is
intended.
also the title of my new movie.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Not That Hard is a great gay movie title.
Oh.
All right, fellas, I've been a good boy. My Washington football team is on the air.
Okay.
It's after 9. I'm leaving. I love you all.
We love
Okay.
you too, Sam. We'll see you
Thank
next week.
Take care. Stay
Yeah.
well.
Stay well.
Bye.
All right. So that now we're back to just a Michigan contingent here.
There we go.
So who's doing shows? Anybody doing shows?
Wednesday,
Randy?
I'm doing the Tiki Bar. Thursday.
Well, like I got to go out there. I used to do that when I was doing shows. I'm not ready to go back out there. I've had too many relatives catch the COVID. I just I don't have a good.
Yeah, I know a lot. I'm knowing a lot of people now, more so than last year. I mean, it didn't know as many people that got it. And now all of a sudden, I know a lot of people that.
I don't.
It.
Yeah, and my genetics aren't good for this. I've got too many people getting this, so I'm gonna.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't have to prove anything. I've already done 40 years of stand up. I've headlined all the clubs that everybody's trying to get into. I don't need to. I don't need to. But I did go to a live show. We did see Randy Rainbow while we were out in LA. Great show, just a great show. And he had a 4-piece orchestra where he had 4 players playing at least 4 instruments each, and they made it sound so big. I mean, he had a string player that played rhythm guitar, electric guitar, bass. He had a big giant bass. He had a violin. He was a string. Then he had a horn guy, horn guy that played a clarinet, a saxophone, a trumpet. And then he had a drummer that did anything that was percussive. So that included just a drum set, bongos, vibes. He could do, the maringas and all that stuff. And then there was a keyboardist that had a synthesizer that could create a bunch of instruments. And the 4 of them would play, and they sounded like they were a live orchestra. And it was unbelievable. Everybody went to see him, but my wife's a musician, and I'm a stage performer. So we were both kind of intrigued by how well they were able to make such a little cabaret show look like a giant theater show. And it was at the Orpheum, and I love the Orpheum in Los Angeles. It's kind of like our music hall here. Not terribly huge, but not small either.
There's a guy who's definitely created a career out of the newer media. I mean, basically,
he's nobody without YouTube.
Yeah, started on YouTube.
He did auditions for chorus lines and stuff in Broadway, and then started making fun of. He showed a couple of clips of some early YouTubes he did making fun of Mel Gibson and I can't remember who the other guy was, but I mean these were like from 10 or 12 years ago. So I mean that's when he started. I mean he's the Trump stuff he does has made him famous, but he's been doing this stuff for quite a few years, and it was just a lark. I mean there was nobody that offered him to tour on a show where he was getting $75 a ticket, until this year. But it was a great show, a lot of fun, just very, funny, good singers, good orchestra. Like I said, it was that was good. I'm trying to think what else we've seen. We've been to a couple of movies. All the movie theaters near me, though, you got to mask up, so I'm not too concerned about that. And there's always 6 feet between my wife and I and whoever else we're sitting by.
Yeah.
So that's worked out.
Have you seen the new the Beatles documentary?
We're halfway through it so far. Based on the 3 or 3.5 hours we've watched so far, it's the best rock and roll documentary I think I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, that's great. I just finished it today.
Oh, did you? No spoilers, please, because
I won't.
we still have
It's just
3.
They don't break up or anything, do they?
We still have 3 or 4 hours to go on that thing, but it's I can't believe the quality. I'm sure they did some computer enhancement with some of that stuff because the footage looks great. You would have thought it was recorded yesterday.
I like all the little things in between where they're actually not just showing the Beatles, but they're showing like Linda and they're showing Yoko Ono and just the reactions on their faces and the little sort of micro reactions with each other. It's like actually showing real people existing in that environment, you know?
Yeah. I wish I might have to go back and look at it again because there's some characters that are talking. And so after a while, I put on the subtitles.
Oh yeah, you have to.
For the hearing impaired, even though I'm not hearing impaired, I want to know because they'll tell you who's talking, you know, because not all
right.
It's not,
and also it has subtitles for things that even if you hear well, you wouldn't be able to tell what they're saying.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, because they talk with that British accent.
Yeah. Or they're just kind of mumbling in the background, but it shows up and you can see what they said. I don't know.
But I'm going to have to go back. Great. I know who Martin is, and I know who Brian Epstein is, and but there's some people that, like, I didn't know who their road manager was. So every time he says something, I go, "Who is that? What did he say?" You know, so like that would be a little bit helpful if you had like maybe have his face show up in the corner so you could reacclimate with it or something.
Yeah. Did you get up to the part? I'm not giving anything away here because it's actually in the description of it. The part where George walks out.
George has not walked out yet, so let's leave that for me to do tonight.
That's very good. That's a very good sequence there. It's just
I knew it. I knew my wife and I were talking about it before we watched it because I said this is the session where George Harrison quits the band. You know, so we know it's coming. We just haven't seen that part yet.
Yeah. The way it's done is it's of course it's not rehearsed, it actually happened, but it just happened so subtly. I mean, it's almost more dramatic than if they had actually rehearsed it.
I can't wait to see it. But I mean, I know Paul seems to have been getting on his nerves.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But anyway,
the dynamic is amazing there. Yeah.
We've only seen 2 movies since the theaters opened back up. One was this summer we saw The Black Widow, the Marvel film, and then we saw Dune a couple weeks ago. Have you seen Dune?
Nope.
No.
Yeah. You know what?
I watched Jungle Cruise.
That's another one. Yeah, Jungle Cruise we watched it, but not I'm talking about at the theater films we've seen.
Yeah, I know.
Jungle Cruise we watched on Disney Plus, but Dune was 2.5 hours, and I thought, gee, they could have told that story in an hour and a half. But then you've got people, and I haven't read the book, and my wife hadn't read it since high school, so she said, even having read the book and knowing the story, they didn't have to be 2.5 hours with this. They could have. And I guess there's a series of books, and by this author on the same world.
Frank Herbert, isn't it?
Frank Herbert, yeah, not necessarily all the same characters, but at least the same setting and the same world that he created. And you don't always for film. You don't always have to be so true. Sometimes it's bad to be true to the book because a book is a different medium than film. So,
well, that's like with Amadeus. Remember the movie Amadeus?
Yes,
that's a translation from the stage to the movie. But was it Milos Forman went in and completely reimagined?
I've got a call I've got to take.
Okay.
I've got to leave. All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. We'll have you on next week. But I saw Amadeus before the movie came out, so I kind of understood what Foreman was doing, and that made sense, because the stage play is not. Same thing with. Did you ever see Equus with Richard Burton?
Yeah, I actually saw it on Broadway with Spock.
Leonard Nimoy.
Leonard Nimoy. I actually saw it back in the 70s.
See, and because that was both by the same author, both by Schaefer, Amadeus, and Equus.
Yeah, Peter Schaefer.
And I thought the movie version of Amadeus was way better than Equus. So, but that different.
Fell out there.
different director too, so it's hard to make kind of make picky points on that because of.
Well, yeah, on the stage show with Equus, you have the horses, which are actors,
right, right,
and so they just the way they move and everything is very elegant and choreographed. So you don't do that. You can't do that in the movie. It's a whole different thing. So I guess you could, but.
So I heard Chicago. I was going to ask Sammy about this, but he's gone. Chicago on Broadway had to shut down. They just they made a big deal about it. September, but Chicago's had 4 cast members get COVID, so they're shutting down for the rest of the year.
Oh yeah,
wow.
Well, that's kind of why I canceled the show for Christmas, is because I think Tipping Point Theater canceled the show the same way. Somebody the cast got COVID, and that was that. Yep. So I didn't want to get right up until the week before, and then have to cancel the show then, and so it's kind of rough. It was unexpected.
Is this the same Tipping Point Theater that has a theater in Northville? Because there's a Tipping Point Theater in Northville too.
I think that's the one. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, this is what I heard. I don't really, I don't know anybody up there, but I heard that they had canceled the show because of that.
Wow.
So this is, I had hoped by this time, by December, back in August or whatever, it looked like things might actually level off and start going down, and that just has not happened. Which is quite the opposite.
Yeah, I think. Well, it's like the flu. Every year the flu mutates, and we get flu shots every year because the flu mutates. And I think they're just going to add COVID to the flu shot regimen. And they're just going to have to be out ahead of it. And I think, the pharmacy companies, to their credit, are doing a great job. South Africa is upset because they felt like they're being punished for doing good science. In other words, like some countries, we didn't hide and ignore. And when we saw there was a variant, we announced it to the world. And so now we're being punished.
The WHO is backing them up on that too. They're saying, that's a bit, that's really not necessary.
It's a bit much, because we should be thanking South Africa, not shutting them down. They're the ones. They could have said, "Well, it didn't start here. We're in just as bad a shape as you are. We have it," and that type of thing. But I think what's going to, now they're talking about. They've got a lot of people are asking the United States to lead on this, and it'll be hard for us to lead because of the political divide we have in this country. But then another thing we could do is we could say, why doesn't China and Russia and India lead it? Because they have they have pharmaceutical companies.
I don't know if you want Russia using their vaccine. It hasn't been that reliable, I think.
There hasn't been that reliable. You make that point of announcing that so that you get the idiots here that don't want to do any vaccine. If it's America creating the vaccine and using it around the world, because that's what the World Health Organization wants, is they want these leading drug companies, which are, we've got 3 in the U.S., we've got 1 in Britain, we've got 2 in Germany, there's 1 in Russia. And we don't know how many there are in China because they won't tell us.
Well, Pfizer and Moderna are both working on a Omicron vaccine that should be out in about 3 months, I guess. Right.
But the thing is, the World Health Organization is saying, why don't we get all let's not worry about whether you put all this research into it, pay them for their research, but let them give the drugs to other companies to produce, because a lot of times these companies put all this money into it, and they go, "Well, we want to produce it, so we get to sell the drugs." Whereas they're saying, give it to other companies, sell them the licensing to manufacture these things, so we can get this stuff out quicker. Because if we're waiting for 4 plants of Pfizer and Moderna to produce all this stuff, now we're waiting so long that we're getting other variants out there. But I think just like the flu, just like we get a different flu shot every year, there's going to be a different COVID shot every year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That I'm pretty sure it's going to be.
Yeah.
So, and I haven't had any side effects from it, like people are claiming there are. And people that claim there are side effects are the ones that haven't had the shot. So,
Yeah. I got a little wiped out by the booster, but I wasn't sick per se. I was just kind of exhausted for a couple of days.
Well, that's what I don't consider that a side effect. If I'm
Right,
wiped
yeah.
out, I just, you know what I mean? I got all my shots, my first, my second. I just got my booster 3 weeks ago. I got it on a Saturday. Why?
Mhm.
I have Sunday to recover, I don't,
Yeah.
not a lot of activity going. Sunday's my day of rest. So let's use it. That's why God gave us a day of rest so that we could have
To
a
recover
booster.
from vaccines, yeah.
Exactly.
He knew it was coming. Yeah. Or as now, I guess some people can't tell how to pronounce the Omicron. Even Schumer today on the floor of the Senate kept calling it Omicron.
Yeah. I tell you what, the more people pronounce it, the more it's going to sound like a comic book character.
Yeah, it sounds like the new villain in the Transformers.
Yeah, exactly. The evil Omicron. Wait until Omicron gets all the jewels.
There you go.
That's right. Yes.
Okay, so Tim,
Yes.
what are the chances we can find another place to have us do the Unclub?
Oh, you mean on a regular basis?
Well, at least, we could start once a month, and
Yeah.
I like
Well,
that. I like that Sunday
is-
night. I thought that worked out well.
I don't know. I mean, Riverside Arts, the theater is just too expensive to do for one night thing. But they do have a dance studio and a gallery that are I think about $20-25 an hour. So there's that. And there's
how much was the mix? How much was the mix when we were doing it at the mix?
Well, that was I think it was about $500 a month, something like that. But I could never make enough money to and actually technically there's still a financial debit in that area. So
Really?
I can't exactly go back there and do the show.
He's still trying to raise money.
I'm not saying there, but a 30 seat was $500 a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we would have had a lot cheaper wine. Not that the wine we had wasn't cheap, but it would have been.
It was pretty cheap. Well,
It was pretty cheap.
the thing is that I was doing plays, right? So now if I was able to do a play in there all the time, that would have been fine. But
Right.
it takes time to cast and rehearse, and once you get it up, you run it for a couple of weeks, and then you're over. And then
Right.
the Unclub didn't bring anything in, so it seemed like 500 shouldn't be that much, but it was. So
I think so. That's a lot when you look at that. You've got 30 seats in there, and then depending on your production, you might have to take some seats out to produce. You know what I mean?
yeah,
To give you the stage that we need.
I think we got as many as like 40 in there.
Yikes!
But that was a big house.
Wow.
But there is space down in Saline, but it's not as available. It's like a city of Saline space. They have to approve it and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that's available on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like maybe sometime in the spring to go at it again, see if I can do something.
I think it would. I don't think it would be that hard to. Brandy, you're probably in the scene more than any of us. You don't think it would be that if we started the Unclub again? You don't think it would be that hard to attract do you?
Nope.
Well, I know there was a lot of
Thirsty.
there was a lot.
Time.
I'm sorry. What's that, Brandy?
I was saying, comics are thirsty for stage time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, there was a lot of interest on the event page for the reunion. I noticed.
I noticed
Yep.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll put a notice out there tomorrow that we're gonna have to cancel it.
Right. Remember,
Okay.
there was two aspects to that event. There was for the event and then for the potluck. So
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we could. You know what? Let's because it's so close to the date. Let's make another date for potluck or whatever. We could probably find a place where we don't necessarily have to have a performance spot. If
Right.
we just found And we just found a restaurant that would let us slide 4 tables together or something, depending on how many people we got.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, if
Just-
we did that, we could do it. If it wasn't a potluck and we were actually ordering food, we could do that at probably Ipsy Ale House.
Yep.
You know.
All right, but let's let it go this holiday season because I've got my schedule already set. So,
Oh.
do you want to do it? Do you want to do it, Brandy? You want to
No.
organize? I didn't think so.
No, I don't organize.
We'll have to organize it. Yeah.
Oh, everybody
Yeah,
wants
it's all
to
big talk until somebody has to organize it, and then I don't. I got things to do. Yeah, there we go.
Ooh.
Well, I can. It's the type of thing where I just want to. Once I get to that month, and what is it tomorrow? Tuesday, Wednesday is that month. So, that's now I'm 3 weeks away from it, and that's just too much time for all the other crap I got going. I still got kids at home.
Right.
Christmas time, and they got school plays, and
That's right. I got kids. I got kids at
Mark,
home.
have
I
you been
can't
to
do this.
the open mic at the
Yeah,
Blind
I don't
Pig?
even.
What's that, Brandy?
Have you been to the open mic at the Blind Pig yet?
No, because it's on Monday nights, and I do this show on
Oh.
Monday night. So
I see.
we've talked about moving. There's this show. There's the Blind Pig. There's the Ferndale show, and I think there's another one going on Monday nights too that I've talked about possibly moving the show to Sunday, because that would really be the off night now. Because the idea is that you do this on the night that there aren't any shows to do. So, or I was also thinking of doing it earlier on Monday, but the reason we moved it later was because we used to have people on from LA all the time, and they didn't like the 4:00 in the afternoon time to get on, and so 5 made it easier to get us people from LA, but we don't have that many people from LA anymore.
But what about using an open mic as the reunion? Because the Blind Pig, remember how much space it was for the 51st jokes?
Are you going there tonight?
I'm not going tonight, but it's going to be in my rotation.
All right, maybe I'll go there next week. Maybe we'll do our show earlier next week. Are you guys all right with doing an earlier show?
Yeah,
Sure, but what about our audience?
Audience
be okay.
Yeah, well, the show stays on the page until the next week when we record over it. So
Yeah, I think until Mark brought me on the screen, I was your audience.
I'm pretty sure that was it. Yeah.
I noticed when Tim came on, we went from 1 to 0 for audience.
Tim was the only audience guy. There we go. You were the mystery man, our mystery audience.
Either that or whoever was watching saw Tim Henning. I'm out.
No,
Tim Henning, I'm out.
well, that's possible. That's entirely possible.
I'll tell Kurum and Jason and Sam and everyone else that comes along that we're going to do it. We're going to do it earlier next week, and then I'll get out to the Blind Pig. Are you going out next? Do we have to sign up for that? How does that work, Brandy?
Yeah, you email Andrew Yang, I guess, and he's it.
Well, I still book Ann Arbor tonight, so I could probably use that as a carrot. Yeah, I'll get you on Ann Arbor tonight if I can get on your Blind Pig.
Yeah, see, I haven't seen if Zach is Zach taping again, or
he's doing the same thing we're doing. He's doing online shows, but he's had a hard time. They have not really opened up the studio over there yet.
I see that.
So he's talked to, and he had a couple of theaters in Ann Arbor, downtown Ann Arbor, that had interest in it, especially after he won awards for the show. He's got those awards to show off now. And so, I don't know. I told him that he doesn't really need me until he goes back into the studio. So I said, I'll wait for you to call me, but I'm still on board with him as soon as he gets back into a studio or goes to a theater and starts doing tape as live. They tape as live, which is what I've always wanted to do. He's always, and he's done it because of the talent he has and the time constraints he has. He has always done record the segments as you can record them, rather than start the tape at the top of the hour and finish at the top of the next hour. In other words, run the clock 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock or 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, whatever. he's always done it. All right, the band's got to get in and out, so we're going to do them first, and then they re-edit the show later, which has made for a lot of funny gags because we do a lot of gags about the form, where you're making references to jokes that are going to happen later in the show. So you can say, I'm forward casting that callback, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But, and we've had Zach on this show a couple of times just to check in with him.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Mm-hmm. I was watching.
All right, well, stay tuned. We're at 95 minutes now, so we're done here tonight. But stay tuned. I'll give everybody a heads up. I'm going to try to do it early so I can start catching these Monday nights and see if I can find a location at some of these other places, maybe to do either this show or the Unclub. So maybe make this show part of the Unclub. That'd be kind of nice too. If we had a Streamcast to go along with the Unclub, that'd be great. I'd be willing to rename it. So, all right. So we'll see everybody next week. I don't have any outro music yet. We'll work on that. It's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to do the production when you're not on the air and hosting. So we can work on that.
You all have a nice night.
You too.
You too, Brandy. Take care.
Tim, thanks for joining us. Thanks for adding stories. That's what this is all about. Just talking about all the stuff we know over the 30, 40 years of show business that we've been doing it. Andy, always thank you because you are my sidekick. You are my Ed McMahon. You are my Paul Schaefer. You are my Andy Richter. You are my
best facial hair on the show.
Best facial. Oh, what's wrong? Mine is nice and thick. It's just short. Yeah.
Well, the most facial hair. We'll put it the
most facial.
Most facial hair. It may change soon. So anyway.
That's right. He's not. Did you hear that, Tim? He's not doing Santa this year.
I heard that
because of the COVID.
Yeah.
We can talk about that more next week. I'm going to bow out because I got to end this here. See you guys next week.
Man.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.